Outcome 11.1, Lesson 5, percent. Changing percent to decimals and fractions. Write 24% as a decimal and as a fraction. Let's start with the fraction part. Percent means out of, and it actually means out of 100. So if you got 24%, means that you got 24 out of 100. We can reduce this fraction by using the fraction button on our calculator, and we learned about that in the last lesson. So put in 24, fraction button, 100, and equals. You should end up with the reduced fraction 6 over 25. Those two fractions mean the same amount, one is just reduced or simplified further. To change from a fraction now to a decimal, we need to remember that this line also means divide. So we're going to do 6 divided by 25 to change into a decimal. 6 divided by 25 gives you a decimal of 0.24. So 24% as a fraction is 6 over 25, or 0.24. Write 5% as a fraction and a decimal. Again, 5% means 5 out of 100. Using your fraction button or reducing that fraction should give you a reduced fraction of 1 over 20. To change that to a decimal, we're going to do 1 divided by 20, which works out to 0.05. Another way of changing from a percent to a decimal is to take your percentage of 5% and divide that by 100. 5% divided by 100 will give you 0.05. So we get the same answer because in the first method, we're using 1 over 20, so 1 divided by 20. In the second method, we're using 5 over 100, or 5 divided by 100 to get to our decimal. Either way, we should get the same answer. Changing decimals to fractions and percents. So what happens if you're given the decimal and you need to change it to a fraction? We need to remember that the 3 is in the tenths spot and the 2 is in the hundredth spot. Hundredths means that it's out of 100. So this means that we have 32 hundredths. Again, we can reduce that fraction and it will reduce to 8 over 25. So either of those fractions will work. To change from a decimal to a percent, we're going to start with our decimal and multiply by 100, because remember that percent means out of 100. If we multiply by decimal 32 by 100, we end up with 32%. Let's try 0.07. I still have 2 decimal places, so as a fraction it means that it's over 100, and we have 7 hundredths. That fraction cannot be reduced. If I'm changing from the decimal to a percentage, I'm going to multiply by 100. 0.07 times 100 will give me 7%. Changing fractions to decimals and percents. So this time we're going to start with the fraction. The easiest is to change this to the decimal first. So remember that this sign means divide, so we have 3 divided by 5. 3 divided by 5 will give us a decimal of 0.6. There's our decimal form. To change to a percent, we're going to take our decimal form and multiply by 100. If we multiply 0.6 times 100, we end up with 60%. 3 over 4, or 3/4. You may know that this is 0.75, but if you forget, top number divided by the bottom number gives you 0.75. So this is our answer as a decimal. As a percent, we are going to multiply by 100, giving us 75%. Please try practice number 5.